Well, Dan Lofthouse, fresh back from that superb win out at Rally Armagnac in France, Justin Birchall taking that win. First time in 40 years in a UK-built car. Lofthouse Motorsport, one of yours. How does that feel, Dan?
Yeah, it feels fantastic. It's a long time coming. A lot of hours, a lot of late nights. Like I said, we're committed to do the French Championship with Justin this year. It's very difficult, it's very demanding on everybody and family. But yeah, to get a win was amazing.
It was absolutely fantastic. Like you say, a long time coming. Your father involved in the sport for many years as well. Design and development has been your thing as well as driving. Now, 40 years it's been. Who I have with me at the moment right now, I am so chuffed to say here at Goodwood, Alvin Smith, you are the man that 40 years ago built the very first car that went out and took that Rally de Scenes in style, driven by Pat Willis and Robbo Aliperti. How good did that feel?
Well, it's quite amazing, and I mean, first of all, congratulations to Dan. I mean, he's done a super job. I know he's burnt the midnight oil on this sort of thing. I've done it. But yeah, it's 40 years ago. I'm 76 now, and I'd still like to be out there driving and that. But he's done a super job, and to come along now 40 years later with the development of cars, especially as they are in France, very, very high quality, and to beat them is absolutely magnificent. And that's great. The competition's there, you know. French are trying hard, the Brits are trying hard. Absolutely wonderful.
What I love about it is that back in the day, you built that car for Pat Willis and Robbo Aliperti, absolute legends. You built that car, Range Rider, and you built it, I think, for yourself, and then they took it, they bought it, they got it, took it out of France. You had to have your second car, and they beat you in your own car and put you into second place.
That's absolutely true. Yes, I mean, as far as the cars go, the way I rallied, I'd run a car for 1 or 2 years, and then I would sell the car, and that money would buy the new car, you know, that I'd build, and you'd start from scratch every time. The Range Rider was actually on a Range Rover chassis, a 4.4 litre Australian engine in it, and one thing and another. But I had the trick of power steering on it, and it was the first car, I believe, to have power steering off-road, you know, for racing. And that gave me the edge. So that was quite a well-kept secret, and it was within the rules.
But the whole thing with that was that you were so at the spearhead of the design and development of UK off-road. And the All-Wheel Drive Club, I think, only started back in 67, 68. And you're already like taking it by storm. I mean, British Championship was coming up, all these sort of things. But you were right at the cutting edge of it. And now, Dan Lofthouse, that's exactly where you are.
Exactly, yes.
And to see the, you know.
Yes, I mean the first racer I built was a Series 1, which was an 80-inch, and I think it was 78-inch by the time I modified it. I believe it was the first Land Rover to have coil spring suspension, not a V8. They'd done V8s in them, the lads, but that became known as Zebedee with all that at the time. And yes, it just developed from there. That was my first go at it, and then the last car was the Alicat, which was an all-aluminium frame, absolutely built from scratch. I built 2 cars from scratch, Porsche engine in the back, and diff locks front and rear, and internal braking, you know, instead of external braking.
Oddly, I saw the Porsche, the Alicat, for sale about 5 years ago for 20 grand.
Yes, it's very local. I believe it's somewhere near Petworth or Petersfield, and I still haven't seen it, but the stickers are still on there from when we were rallying it. But yes, I built or modified 14 cars altogether and 2 from scratch. But I mean, Dan's designed this car and built it from scratch. And now he's manufacturing and selling them, which absolutely brilliant.
So that's the story 40 years ago. For you, Dan, you've been competing yourself as well before, and started working on cars sort of after a good time of competing.
Yeah,
Developing them rather.
well, co-driving was the initial start at 16, and then we got into driving, then we did the hill rallies, and we won the British Championship, we won the Hill Rally Championship, we won the Endurance Baja event, so we did all right in France ourselves with a car which we adapted to go over there with every intention to, and then because we're competing, and they had what they call like the British allowed like a bit more lenient on some rules. They pulled all the rules back then, so fortunately I sold that car on. And then that's when Justin came along, and we built this one and several others, and we're just going there, and then this has had a recent redevelopment, and we're changing gear, we changed gearbox, brakes, we changed all sorts, and go from there. And then there's another evolution coming for Justin, hopefully as soon as. So
That's going to be interesting.
It is. And what's wonderful is you were both absolutely leading design engineers, two different generations in off-road motorsport.
Well, what's very interesting is I think Dan's probably around the same age as my son, Clinton Smith, and he's got this mid-engine car, Porsche powered 3.6 Porsche in it, and so on. And quite frankly, you know, he's still saving to get the car so he can get to rallies. But the car's finished now. He's given me a ride, and I've had the pleasure of being the only one in there, you know, next to him. So that's going to be really good when that comes on the market. So, you know, he's got a hell of a job to try and beat this car that Dan's turned out. But you know, he is a rally driver. He's done very well in the past, and I think that will come forward. But isn't it great? You know, this second generation or whatever have come through and producing these vehicles so well. I mean, it takes me back, and the excitement of thinking about building a car without knowing how long you're going to be burning the midnight oil, you know.
Exactly.
But if you keep at it, you can do it.
And we have had wins, of course. We've had Stephanie and Rachel Simonite took the championship with round wins as well. Alex Cole took the championship. And we've also had Chris Bird win a round. And now Justin caps it by winning a round. But the first in a UK car, and that's significant. Yours built for the UK scene, really. Took it out to France, competed. Yeah. Yours built really aiming to take on the French events. That's probably the difference. But the French leaps and bounds ahead of us, and you're now catching them up.
yeah, I mean they've always been ahead, particularly in the last 20 years, to be fair. And I remember going over as a 14, 15-year-old with Gordon Monaghan, thinking, wow, now we've got this, and and we're going, and then we've got more to come as well. So I mean, we have got more to come as well.
So for you, Alvin, seeing this car now and having a real close-up look at it, you'll have to get into the bonnet later. What for you is the biggest change in those 40 years of off-road vehicles?
I've got to be honest, over the years, Yves Pashaldi was building independent suspension cars from scratch, and winning at the seams. And I think it's where Dan's knowledge has come from his father as well, to be fair, but he's got to have the expertise to do it. That it's the finer points that have to be modified, and the tuning of the engine. And I mean, like the wiring and things, and I believe you're using aircraft wiring. I mean, it's absolutely top-notch engineering. And so the cars, I can't say they're still the basic car, they're still the same sort of shapes, but it's the fine tuning, and that's where the expertise has come. And you've got to be any better than anybody else to do it, which Dan has done. Absolutely fantastic.
What I love is all the way through the weekend we've been talking about the fact that off-road is a life, it's a lifestyle. And what I find slightly unnerving is that I've got Bruce Tigwell's here, Nigel Ashcroft's here, John Hilton's here filming us right now. We've got Linky Gardiner here. We were all there like round in about 40 years ago. And still here, commentating, building, filming. It's a bit weird. So, Dan, you've got a lot of years ahead of you. Where do you think it's going to go for you? And will we all be here in another 20?
As long as we can keep moving forward and keep trying to get people into sport. I mean, we get various regular inquiries, some from other disciplines, some from rallying, some from circuit racing, what the bowler guys are doing with the new Defenders.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, there's many of angles of getting people in, and that, you know, as long as there's people there, we'll keep moving forward as much as we can. And if we stand still, we'll go backwards, and it's as simple as that. We have to keep moving forward.
Well, with engineers like you two, design development engineers like Alvin Smith and Dan Lofthouse, I think we're going to go an awful long way with UK off-road motorsport. We've got the world-class drivers. You're creating, along with a group of others like Bowler Crews from Drew Bowler, creating the best cars imaginable, and always pushing UK off-road forward.
Absolutely. There's one little secret I'll tell the world now. I've patented a wave pump, so you have to do something in your spare time. So I invented the Sea Razor, patented that, which Dale Vince took up. Unfortunately, he's sitting on it. But I've got a new one, the Sea Riser. So if you watch John Hilton's site, that will be on there probably before the end of the year, and this thing is driven by wave energy and creates electricity, and you can store the energy, but I'll leave it at that at the moment.
I heard you and Bruce have a little conversation about it once, because funnily enough, this is what I love about off-road. It is just steeped with legendary engineers, and heaven only knows where we're going to be in 20 years' time. But for now, Alvin Smith, Dan Lofthouse, 40 years apart, true French victories in UK-built cars. I thank you for everything you've given to off-road motorsport.
And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.